Incoming transmission.
The Klingonese word of the day is "se."
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
So, this is a huge victory for the good guys.
Scotty, beam me up.
Resistance is futile. Live long and prosper.
Boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings and welcome to the Computer Resumed podcast, the show covering the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order for fans new and old. I'm your host, writer-comedian, Mr. Todd A. Davis. He is the writer, director, and star of the YouTube series 1701, A Blurred Story, from Hollywood, California, with the most buttery shoulders. It's Matt Jennings! Matt Jennings! It's never going away. So if at any time you're just kind of like, hey, can we? No, it's here to stay.
you know something? So I have to say before we started recording today, as I was driving today, I was thinking, you know what? He said that my shoulders were buttery, and it's like one of the most obscure random compliments. And so whenever I'm having a bad day, all I think to myself is, you know what? I've got buttery shoulders.
That's awesome.
And all is right with the world.
Hey, and I'm secure enough that when I see your photos of you jacked out of your mind, you're just built. You're built very well, sir.
Oh, you sweet talker! I bet you say that to all the girls.
But I'm like, dude, the shoulders, the arms, the chest, the abs, the quads, like I was like, man, he's doing it. He's doing it. Meanwhile, I'm barrel chested. You could find me, like, I feel like if you saw me in a kilt, like in a tavern with an axe on my shoulder, you'd be like, oh yeah, there's Todd. He fits in here.
That's also still very sexy. That's still sexy. I'm not even joking. That is still a sexy look. Not even joking.
Oh, I needed that, man. So how have you been? It's been, oh gosh, what was the last episode? It was you were on for an earlier episode of Discovery, weren't you?
Yeah. I want to say was it January or February? It's been a minute.
Yeah.
And now we are here. It is we're getting very close to September. The pumpkin spice lattes are about to be made.
Oh yeah.
I've been good. It has been a very interesting journey the last few months, from the last time that we were on to now, in regards to things like the writer strike happening, and now SAG-AFTRA is striking. And at one point, I think that there was one of the Broadway unions was going to strike as well. It didn't happen, but that was close to happening too.
Yeah.
And, there's always those woes that come in with being an artist, or just being with someone that works in show business at any capacity, with how hard it is. And I'll be honest, I've been going through that. Every other day I go through that. But I think with this strike happening in particular, I think it's just a reminder of how much is out of my control when it comes to this field and this industry.
Oh yeah.
And it has forced me to reconnect with why I want to do this. And it's forced me to recalibrate my brain into understanding that I just love doing this.
Yeah.
And when the strike happened, there was this part of me that thought, oh well, there goes auditions, there goes the possibility of working. I mean, there is like the financial aspect that does go away with the strike happening.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
But at the same time, with not having auditions and auditions not coming in, that's not something that I'm not used to, or that any other actors aren't used to. That's something that we're all pretty used to.
Yeah.
And I think that with that being a reality, from before the strike and now, whereas some people might be scared in terms of I'll never work again, or I'll never you know. And I don't want to say that fear isn't valid. I think for me, because I've kind of gone through that before the strike happened, and it kind of forced me to work on projects with friends, to work with people that knew how to work a camera, that knew how to do sound, that were actors, but said, I'm going to help you out here. And that's also like a shout out to the people that I work with to make 1701. You know, my friend Emerson, my friend Hector, my DP Garrett, my composer David. You know, we pull together the resources that we have.
Yeah.
You know, my friend Kelby who did makeup, the person that did makeup for the 3rd episode. You know, you kind of learn to pull in your resources when things aren't coming to you.
Yeah.
And so now that the strike is happening again, I know some people are scared, but for me, my thought was, well, you know, this is pretty much what I've been used to. So, you know, back to making my own stuff, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, you know,
I mean,
it makes me think of stories like Robert Rodriguez, who his big thing, especially when he was getting started, was, what do I have? Okay, I've got access to a bus, I've got a guitar, I've got a script, I've got the money that I got from the experimentation that was done on me. let's put all that and make a movie. And he did. And of course now he's, you know, head of, you know, Troublemaker Studios, and he is Robert Rodriguez.
Right.
But you know, looking at that sort of thing, and I want to get into more of 1701 before we dive into today's episode. When you were thinking about starting 1701, what was the process of, okay, I've got A, B, C, D, you know, let's shape this into a thing? Was there a moment of that? Was an evaluation of like, okay, I've got this life story, I've got this big collection of action figures, a buddy of mine has a camera, I've got 2 friends that are, you know, going to be, you know, the Larry and Moe to my Curly, you know what?
Oh my God. You know what? That is oh my God.
I was worried I was being insulting, but
no, not at all. And if you saw like the actual trio in action that it's based off of,
yeah,
or I should say the quattro, because it's 4.
Right.
There are 4 people. Like, if you saw us in action when we were younger, that is so, I'll tell you stories, but that's so accurate.
Nice.
That is so accurate.
But going back to that pre-production phase before you went on stage with it, because it was a stage production first.
It was a
correct?
stage production first, yes.
So when you were, you know, before that happened, what was the thought process of piecing it all together? What was that like for you?
It really was a little bit like what you were saying. So when the idea came about, you know, my dad had said to me at one point, you know what, I think that you can do a solo show with us one day, or that you could do a solo show. Yeah. And I think I was still in college at that point and doing theater, and I was like, doing a solo show was like wild to me. I was like, I don't know about that. And I enjoy doing poetry and spoken word poetry. So I would go and do some of my spoken word poetry at open mics at this theater called the Long Beach Playhouse, which a lot of my college theater alumni work at, and two of them are now the higher ups at the Long Beach Playhouse now.
Nice.
But anyway, I perform open mics there. And so the artistic director at the time said, hey, you know, have you thought about turning some of your poetry into a show? And then I thought to myself, you know, my dad talked about doing a show too. And my friend Sean, who I think he got his degree in directing at Cal State Long Beach, and he directed me in a couple of shows in college, helped me kind of piece together what I had. And so what we did is we put on a list different life events, self-identifying life events that happened to me that kind of helped piece together who I was at that point in time. I think it was 23 or 24. And certain elements that, you know, I knew I was good at. Love poetry, got that. And, you know, the final element was Star Trek, because I was too nervous to put it in. I'll be honest. I was too nervous to put it in, because I just thought, okay, I've got Star Trek. And anytime that I can think of a very, you know, of a self-identifying moment for me, I can think of Guinan. I can think of Q putting me through a trial. I can think of me being Captain Kirk and my friend Emerson being Spock and giving me this logical advice. But who's going to get that? I don't know if that's going to work. But my friend Sean kind of encouraged me to go with it and see what happens. And so that's kind of how all of it started to tie together. And I had to, I think at the end of the day, give myself permission to just go with the idea, no matter how wild it was, or how wild it may have seemed to me, and just see what happens and see what forms. And that was kind of like the beginning of the process. Like in terms of like the action figures and stuff, it's weird going from the show to doing the web series now. I think I take for granted props, because when I'm writing these episodes out and when I'm writing stuff that takes place in Matt's mind on the bridge of the Enterprise, I can write in, Matt pulls out a phaser, and I'm not thinking, I got to go to Amazon and I got to get this, or I got to call someone for props. I'm just thinking, oh, I've got that in the garage. And so it was like, nice. It's like, that's all I have to do, because I've been accumulating this stuff either personally or, through my parents buying me stuff for years. So it's all there. It is all there. And when I filmed this latest episode, there's something that happens in the latest episode that requires phasers. And so, I think of that, for example, where we're doing a scene, me and my friend Emerson as Spock, we're doing a scene where we have to protect the Enterprise in this scenario. And anyway, I had my phaser and I walked on set and I said, all right, here's my phaser. I'm like, there's your phaser. And it was just like, it was just like a very easy, like, okay, here's mine, here's yours. It wasn't the thought of like, oh, this was, this is from Art Asylum, and this cost me $40 and I had to put this into the budget. It was like, nope, here you go.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's just I guess a testament to, again, using what you have and just letting yourself and your imagination go wild and really giving yourself permission. I think the whole process about all of this, because technically, I guess from the show to the web series, 2012 to 2023, soon to be 24, this has been, oh my God, 12 years of just giving myself permission. It's a personal process. It's been a great process, but
well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. And everybody, if you haven't seen 1701, it's out there on YouTube. We're going to plug it again here at the end of this episode, but it's so much fun, and I really hope this continues to be a big project for you, and it keeps going, because I really am enjoying it. But yeah, let's dive in. We talked a little bit before about you going out with folks on the strike. You're there in Hollywood, so what's it been like out on the picket lines? Has there been any issues or anything come up that you've seen that you can share?
So I haven't been out to picket yet. I'm going to be there on Friday, September 8th. There are going to be other Trekkies that are going to be picketing outside of Paramount, and I saw that advertised, because I'm a ways away from Paramount, and so whereas other friends live so close by, they can just hop in the car and go over. I'm like, wait, just give me 2 weeks and I'll have it in the budget to get gas so I can drive over there. But I just said to myself, if there was ever a time to picket, it would be great to do that with fellow fans, to go out there.
Oh yeah.
And I know that I guess by the time that this episode airs, that the picket will have already happened. But I know that Michael Okuda shared just a post of Trekkies going out to picket on September 8th. But some things that I have heard, and for listeners, please go look it up and confirm it, because I don't want to put out rumors or anything that's false information. But I can't remember what lot it was, but there is an area specifically, I guess, where people are picketing or were picketing. And that area also happens to have a lot of trees to protect just that shades the block and shades the area.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, all of a sudden there's those trees either have been or were scheduled to be cut down, which is a very nasty,
yeah.
just a, oh,
We
to
can say
do
it.
that.
We can say it. It's a move.
It's a move to do. That's, I mean, but you know what? This is what we are. This is the mentality that we're dealing with, right? That we're fighting against. You've got people out there, these higher ups that are talking about waiting until people lose their homes. Which why would you do you hear yourself?
Yeah.
Do you hear yourself?
Are you a Disney villain? Like,
how cold are you? What is wrong with you?
Yeah. Jeez.
What's the problem?
Oh.
So there's just, when you are trying to reason with someone that is so out of touch, sometimes I don't know how you reach that person. I don't know how you reach the humanity in that person, or make them get back in touch with it.
Yeah. It's,
being
able to see things from, being able to walk a mile in someone else's shoes is such a, cliche at this point, but like, it's really kind of important.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Or it's like, if you're not willing to walk in them, just be willing to understand, hey, I haven't walked in them, so I don't quite know what's going on. Let me go ahead and inquire. Let me ask. Let me be curious.
Yeah, because with everything that's going on with the strike, we mentioned before we started recording that we're staring down the barrel of another quiet time in the Star Trek franchise.
Yeah, we are.
It's probably going to be the better part of a year.
A year at least.
Once everything that's already in the can is out.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the meantime in terms of, your Star Trek-ness and, introducing others to it and things like that? What have you been doing to prepare for that?
I think that I think for one thing, connecting with other fans. I think that's been a big thing. I've been to conventions and gatherings more than I have been in the last 2 years than I have been, I guess, all of my Star Trek life.
Wow.
And the more that I go to the conventions, like I just went to the Las Vegas convention, and the more I go to these things, I realize that Star Trek, it's about the, for me, it's about the ideas. It is about the starships. I love starship porn. I just got to be honest.
Something about those ample nacelles.
Those nacelles, that deflector dish. Oh, that shuttle bay. My God, what an aft.
That's all the time we have on the Computer Resume podcast. Oh, it's so great.
But it's yes, it's about those things, but it's also, Star Trek is its people. And I feel like I'm referencing Batman, because maybe Bruce Wayne at one point said Gotham is its people. So maybe that's what I'm pulling from.
That is a very Batman line.
It's a very Batman line, but Star Trek is its people. And, you go to these conventions and you meet these beautiful souls, these clever souls, these creative souls, these brilliant souls, such smart people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, that's the most rewarding thing for me. And so I think that's what's filled in the space. I think reconnecting with some of my Star Trek nostalgia. When I went to the convention, I bought a Playmates Enterprise D that was released, like the Star Trek Generations version that's got like the blow up pieces that come off. Like, I remember buying one in 2002 off of eBay, or should I say my dad bought it because I didn't have any money. I was a teenager. And I remember getting one off of eBay, and I don't think that the nacelles lit up. So I was really upset, but I stuck with it for years. And then when I went to this latest convention, I saw it sitting there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it. I'm doing it. And so now, it's like, in times like this, in times of the strike, in times where I have those artist doubts, you know what I'll do? I will fly around my Enterprise and I'll feel a little bit better. I kid you not.
Yeah.
I kid you not.
There's been a lot of things to jump into. You can go to a local bookstore and find a section of nothing but Star Trek novels.
Yes.
Those well-loved, cracked spines, dog-eared pages, well-loved copies of those novels. One of my favorites, one of my things that I really cherish is my novelization of the TNG episode Relics, where they find Scotty. And
Interesting.
it is, well, first of all, that episode really tugs at my heartstrings because it reminds me of my grandmother who lived with us for a while before she passed away, and she had Alzheimer's and dementia. And seeing my parents deal with my grandmother was very much like watching, Geordi dealing with Scotty. And it's a really interesting look at that type of thing, of the older generation wanting to connect but can't, and the younger generation trying to be amicable.
Yeah.
But there's that clash, that disconnect between the generations, and it's just a really fascinating story. And reading the novelization, you're getting the director's cut. You're getting all the little things that unfortunately hit the
Yes.
cutting room floor. And man, those are great. If I mean, we are continuing to cover episodes here amidst the strike. Just for, it was a debate about whether or not to stay on schedule, or what we're doing here.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, if you're, hardcore supporting the strike and still need your Star Trek fix, novelizations, they're out there and you can find them, and they're not very expensive, and they are a really fun thing to have on your shelf when it's all said and done. But yeah, I wanted to see if, because they made a big deal here a few days ago as we're recording this, about
Yeah.
somebody flying, a plane
Yeah.
banner, hashtag save
Hashtag
Star Trek
save Star Trek
Prodigy.
Prodigy. Yeah.
I can remember exactly where I was. I was in Riverside, Iowa, the home of Captain James T. Kirk,
Yes.
in a local restaurant there, and scrolling through my phone, and saw the news, and my heart shattered. I was like, no, why? This is so good. And I mean, okay, look, if you're gonna cancel it, okay, fine. It sucks, but I get it. But to take it off the streaming service, now Trekkers who invested in CBS All Access when it was CBS All
Right.
Access,
That's
now
right. Yeah.
Paramount
Yeah.
Plus, because it was the big selling point was, we're gonna have everything Star Trek all in one place. Like, that's what we've wanted for decades.
A long time.
A long time. And now to have it for a minute, and then to have it taken away, like, has there been any thoughts in terms of like the strike and the cancellation of Prodigy? How is that hitting you as a fan?
I think it hits me. I mean, on one hand, it hits me as a fan because any Star Trek I'm going to watch, any character that we get some follow-up on, I'm going to be curious about, and I'm going to want to know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think it hits me even more as an artist because I know Prodigy is a great show.
Yeah.
It's a great show. And it's painful as an artist to watch great work go unseen or be unappreciated.
Yeah.
When you know the work, when you know that the people behind the scenes work hard and genuinely appreciate the material and love the material that they're putting out there, you can see it in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that work gets taken away, or when that work is not appreciated, the artist in me hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I can talk about this.
I can cut it out if you decide later.
Okay. But I think about Picard as well. This third season of Picard, I think about how, I mean, the Emmy nominations went up. And all respect to the shows that have been nominated. I genuinely think that Picard, this third season, was snubbed big time.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's not like, the other seasons of Star Trek were also great as well, and Star Trek has always deserved more than what it's gotten in that arena. I guess because I'm older now and because I've been trying to tell my own stories and do stuff, and when I see the work put in, and when I see the work like really put in the script, the artwork, the music, everybody working behind the scenes, the actors, when I see the appreciation and the love for the work really go in, I mean really go in.
Yeah.
The story, and if you're thinking about it just from the perspective of people watching, people really watched. I got, my mom and I, my mom has been here and there watching some of the new Trek, but I really wanted to watch this one with her because this is how I got introduced to Star Trek. She's the one that showed me, Star Trek and got me into like that last season. I guess when I was old enough to understand what I was watching, that last season of TNG.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this last season came out and we get to see everybody together again, I wanted to share that with her because she started me on it. And so I knew that I wanted to have that with her. So there's this other element of, in one way, maybe it's nostalgia, but it's just, it tugs on your heartstrings as well.
Oh yeah.
So I say all that to say, I think that, I think Picard was genuinely snubbed, in every way with this Emmy season. And it's just, Star Trek has always been taken for granted, but there was something about this season, and it not getting nominated, which just felt so personal.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but there was something there that I was like, something about this really doesn't sit right. But I say all that to say, in regards to Prodigy, that when you know that the work is there and it's great work, and it gets, it doesn't get acknowledged, it's extra painful. There's a special pain there, not special pain, but I don't know what the right word is.
Very specific pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we've been lucky enough to have Bonnie Gordon on the show a couple times, and what a delight. Just and such a talent. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, and couldn't be a sweeter person. But yeah, looking at that third season of Picard, where it's kind of like, genre stuff's always been kind of dismissed, swept aside.
Right.
It's hard to ignore the technical achievements of season 3 of Picard.
Yes.
And you've got these, at this point, legendary figures, Star Trek aside, Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, Patrick Stewart. Like, these are all legendary figures in the industry. Then, like, that's your core. Then you've got people who come back, like Seven of Nine, and you've got Ro Loren, all these wonderful people. Then you've got people who, from out of nowhere, Amanda Plummer, holy crap, Todd Stashwick, oh my god. Like, I could watch his speech in the bar every day for the rest of my life. It's amazing.
I swear, I'm telling you, just for actors, I mean, the opening, the introductory scene of oh my god, I'm forgetting the captain's name now.
Shaw.
Of Captain Shaw. That introductory scene was just such it was a beautiful performance. And just, I don't know, as an actor, just watch it. It's such a good scene.
Yeah.
It is such a really good scene. The subtleties, the subtleties in the performance. There's something that Todd does, which was like the button on his moment, where, he tells Picard and Riker, no, we're not taking the ship into this area of space. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the scene, he gets up, he starts to walk out of, I don't know if is it the captain's quarters, or because I know there's like a dining table there.
Yeah, I think it's captain's mess. Yeah,
captain's mess. He gets up and he walks out, and there's one moment which was such a it gave me chills. But he pats Riker on the shoulder and he walks out. The shoulder pat was the button on that scene. It was just it's the details, it's the small little stuff that's so delicious to watch.
Yeah.
And that's just going off what you said about watching Todd Stashwick, and
Yeah, let's continue this feast of Stashwick love here for just another minute.
Yeah.
First of all, that scene that you just talked about, let's look at it from a story perspective. Picard, Riker, in terms of Starfleet history, they are living legends.
They're it.
Nobody would dispute it. And Shaw shuts them down with one word. And it's like
Yes.
turns that table and you mentioned him patting the shoulder. I mentioned the scene, his speech in the bar,
Yeah.
which on paper alone, the words just, oh my God, brain. I don't audibly react to Star Trek a lot,
Yeah.
but when he gave the reveal of how he knows Picard,
Oof.
it got an out of me and it almost come off the couch of like, oh shit. And, and my wife goes, what's wrong? I was just like, buckle up, here it comes. And he goes into the whole thing. And by the end of it, it just jaws on the floor. But you mentioned the shoulder pat.
Yes.
I watched Stashwick's hands in that scene and what he's doing there at the bar. Man, like I said, I'd watch that scene every day for the rest of my life. It is so good. And he's got all this little bit of business that he's doing with his hands. It's, oh man.
It's an acting class. It's, and it's the specificity because, oh God, who was it? I think it's Russell Crowe that said that or is it Anthony Hopkins? One of those actors said something about understanding the character down to their fingertips.
Great. What a great thought process that is.
And that's, to me, that's just the example of like all of your extremities just in character, knowing what to do. It's
because it makes you think, because he's not made it a secret about the way he approached Captain Shaw as a former mechanic. Like, so he's very tactile, and and just so good. Todd Stashwick, if you hear this, we absolutely adore you.
You are a national treasure.
You are, sir.
You're a national treasure.
We salute you.
Yes.
So now that we've been recording for almost 2 hours, let's talk about our episode today.
Yes. Let's get into
it. So here we are. We are beyond hip deep. We are up to our neck of season 2 Discovery, and it has been revealed, the Red Angel. And it's we've got a lot of stuff happening here. Before we get into spoiler territory, take us through your thought process upon revisiting this episode and the Red Angel mystery. Like, how did all this hit you on the rewatch?
It's interesting because this is my first time rewatching it since the year that it came out, which I guess was like 2018 or 19?
Season 2. It started in 2017, so this must have been 2018.
Yeah. And so, I think for one, Michael Burnham goes through so much, but also I think one of the things I really enjoyed was watching the sibling dynamic between Spock and Michael Burnham.
Yeah.
And how, it would have been fun to see, because we get a little glimpse of how they were as children, I guess in some of the previous episodes, but to see, I guess, where it ends up more or less present day for them.
Oh yeah.
It is such a joy to watch. The moment that I really enjoyed is where Leland says to Michael Burnham, I knew your parents and this is what they were working on. This is what they were part of.
Yeah.
And Michael Burnham breaks his nose, rightfully so. And, cut to, I guess, the next scene or 2 scenes later where Michael is just working on her.
Working on the cardio. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like doing her cardio. She's doing her Vulcan martial arts, working it out, just working out the rage. And so Spock just comes in, and he says in his own words, I don't think that you should have broken his nose, but I kind of wish that I was there when you did it. And, it's like that little dynamic, that little bit, of seeing the play between these two was just so delicious. I also like seeing the beginnings of more or less, I mean, you get to see it at the end of season 1 of Discovery,
Mhm.
but you get to see the care that this Giorgio has for Michael Burnham
Yeah.
as well. Uh, Especially in, I guess in this episode where Michael Burnham says, "Hey, I have to die to bring the Red Angel over, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
suffocate myself." um, and Giorgio has that moment with her where she's like she holds on to her, saying, "Don't do this, don't go."
Yeah.
And so we just see more of that relationship. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting because tonally we've got Discovery, and then we've got Strange New Worlds, which is it's a lighter tone, same characters, lighter tone.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to see Pike in more of a decision making, we're up against the clock, no nonsense.
Mhm.
I mean, he's warm in the beginning, and not to say that he's cold throughout the show at all, but he's warm in the beginning. He's got to get the trust of the crew and to let them know, hey, I'm not Lorca. I'm a good man.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see this version of Pike in Strange New Worlds, who's really under the gun, like we got to get stuff done, and then to see him in Strange New Worlds where not every minute is life or death.
Yeah.
And a moment against the clock. So seeing the two versions of the character was interesting.
Yeah. We mentioned before we started to roll that Pike has taken a really interesting journey from season 2, and now from season 2 of Discovery through season 2 so far of Strange New Worlds. Let me go back for just a second, because you mentioned the siblings and the sibling
Yeah.
interaction. Do you have any siblings?
I do not have any siblings.
I'm the youngest of 3, and
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh.
And I remember there was because mom and dad had us all kind of generations apart. So while I am the youngest of 3, I
Mhm.
was also still kind of raised very much as an only child. So I have a little bit of both.
Okay.
But I remember, a very distinct relationship between myself and my 2 brothers, and how that's progressed over the years, and watching, Spock and Burnham in their progression from when Ethan Peck first hits, camera as Spock, which how hard is that guy killing it? Like as Spock, he's amazing.
Ethan, you are doing your thing, sir.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
And looking at, knowing that they are both children of 2 different worlds, but how they interact together. And I look at the relationship that I have with my brothers,
Hmm.
and the different versions it's gone through with me, as, there's 13 years between me and my next brother. Yeah.
Wow.
So, hanging out with my brother as a 4-year-old when he's watching David Letterman, Saturday Night Live, Kids in the Hall, and listening to hair bands of the 80s sort of shaped who I am today. And, now that I'm almost 40, the relationship is very different, and we've all grown.
Right.
And those are really interesting things to look at. You mentioned Leland getting punched, and rightly getting punched. And because it's my show, I've got a story for you.
Oh.
So
T.
my years ago, I want to say 2006 to 2008, around in there, I was working at Greenville County Detention. It's the local county jail here in Greenville. And I was working in central control, basically the control room for the biggest building in the facility. The shift before us, I was on 3rd shift. So 2nd shift had an incident go down where an inmate had come back from court with bad news. Bad news being, you're going to prison for the rest of your life. So understandably upset, inmate comes back and wants to call his family, let him know how court went.
Yeah.
At that point, we were in count. And when a facility like that counts the inmates, it is full stop on everything to make sure everybody is
Can
here,
be counted. Okay.
to make sure that things are running as they should.
Yeah.
And understandably, like it's a security thing. It happens 3 times a day, once on every shift. So the inmate comes back, we're in count, they want to make a phone call, and lieutenant, who was a lieutenant that did not garner favor with many people, with many of the officers. Like a lot of officers didn't particularly care for this lieutenant.
He was that bad.
Yeah. The inmate wanted to make a phone call. Lieutenant stood in his way, said, no, you're going to sit. We're going to count, have to count, whatever. This lieutenant proceeded to get in this inmate's face. Just to recap, an older lieutenant, past his prime, I'll say, past his prime, is going toe to toe with someone who just got sentenced to life. How do you think that interaction ended?
Oh, no.
At one point, they're standing face to face. And then, because I was in the control room, I had access to the video camera footage.
Yeah.
I watched that footage all night long. Not only for me, but because every officer on shift came through and said, hey, you got the footage of... I was like, yep, sure do. Here it is. At one point, they're toe-to-toe, face-to-face.
Yeah.
And then at some point in the conversation, you see the inmate drop that 1 foot back.
Uh-oh.
And like I have a martial arts background. I've seen that move before. I'm like,
the foot.
Here it comes. He laid him out with one punch. Just bam. I'd never seen somebody hit so hard all my life.
Oh my God.
And the area of the facility where it happened, there's usually a minimum of half a dozen officers. It took a second before the officers got there.
Oh my God.
That shouldn't have happened.
Oh my God.
Because every officer was in there going, he is right. That LT is writing a check. His ass can't cash. Here it comes. So delicious.
You know what? And listeners, we are not advocating violence.
Nope, not advocating violence, but
I will say sometimes some people just need to get got. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. Sometimes some people just need to get got, and sometimes you learn the hard way. Honestly, that's exactly what it is, and that's not even a joke. Some people just have to learn the hard way because it just doesn't register.
Yeah. And because looking back at it, for officers, and I've done a lot to put the officer chapter of my life behind me, but some things aren't going anywhere. But one of the things they teach you is kind of like situational awareness of like, all right, let's take into account the totality of the circumstances here. Inmates in the facility, he'd have to go through 3 2-inch steel doors to go anywhere. Just let him make a phone call. Okay.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, did we count him? Well, he's right there on the phone.
Yeah.
Chalk it up. Hey, look, I understand what happened. We're in count. There's the phone. Do what you got to do. Stay by the phone. There were 100 ways that situation could have ended without violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it goes back to those memes online of just like, I woke up today and chose violence. Somebody did.
somebody did, right? And it's like you never quite, and because now I'm thinking about that officer. For every, no matter how bad you think you are, there is always someone badder.
Oh yeah.
And it's just with some of these people that just don't learn, I think about the person that they will run across that they happen to get on the right day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, there's like some people say I had time today.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like when you run into that person that has the time today to tell you off to do whatever,
You ready for another Batman reference? Joker once said, "You are one bad day away from being me." That is scary because it's 100% accurate.
It's so true.
Yeah. And you don't know. you don't know who it could be. So
No,
it does not behoove anybody to be mean or mean-spirited to anyone else.
really. Like,
It doesn't
just
benefit
don't
anyone.
do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Just, especially like if you are making an active choice to be like, it's different if you don't know it, but if you're making an active choice to be
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
that takes effort, that takes work, that takes calculation.
yeah.
That's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Just don't do
Yeah.
it. Don't
Well,
do it.
Let's, moving forward, let's take a look because you mentioned about Giorgio and,
Yeah.
still kind of trying to remain spoiler free here.
Yeah.
But let's talk about for a minute about the relationship of former emperor. She prefers emperor.
Yeah.
Former emperor Giorgio with Prime Burnham. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that relationship for a second because it's really fascinating.
It's so fascinating. I mean, I can't remember if we see any of it. I guess we hear about it a little bit in season 1 that Mayor Burnham tried to kill Emperor Giorgio, and so we know that that's there. We don't quite, and I guess maybe there's a little bit of talk as well about what that Burnham meant to Emperor Giorgio, because I think there was a scene in season 1 with Mirror Giorgio and our Michael Burnham about the relationship that she had with other Michael Burnham.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get to see it there, but we don't really see it manifest itself. Like, we get that last moment in season 1, in the last episode of season 1, where Emperor Giorgio's got a phaser to Michael Burnham. I guess before I can't remember who had the device. Was it Michael Burnham that had the device, or was it someone's got a device and they're going to use it?
I think Giorgio had the device, but it was Burnham who had to convince her that giving the device to Laurel as a form of control,
right?
That it was a better scenario.
It was a better scenario.
Yeah.
And
what a tense scene.
And Giorgio's got that phaser to Michael Burnham, and so Michael Burnham's like, "You're gonna have to kill me," and so it's a very small moment, but you just see Giorgio try to hold on to that determination, and then you just see, and I love it, and I love the way that Michelle Yeoh does it. It's so delicious, but she just holds it, and then she goes, ugh, and she rolls her eyes and just moves the phaser away. Like, but that little moment just says, I love you too much. I'm not gonna do this. That's what that little moment was to me.
Yeah.
And so we get to see more of it here, and expressed even more so with the can I talk about this episode's stuff that happens here?
Listen, I've got a bunch more stuff that's going to get into spoiler territory. So before we go any further, let's get to this week's recap.
Okay.
Brought to you in part by our Patreon supporters: Rev J, Jerry Antimano, Cosmic Crit, Kitty B, and David Willett.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
There are so many reasons to join Starfleet. We get to reach for the stars. We get to reach for the best in ourselves. We get to reach for each other.
On your mark, Commander.
Ready.
In the turbo lift after Ariam's funeral, Tyler and Burnham exchange apologies and condolences. In the ready room, Pike, Saru, Burnham, Spock, and Cornwell review what they know. Burnham begins by explaining that the AI that infected Ariam and forced her to copy the sphere's data to control was from
The future!
Cornwell asks how the Section 31 program designed to eliminate threats became the threat. Spock answers with time travel. Saru adds that so far as they know, the future AI infected only Ariam and Control. Pike believes the AI could have transmitted off-station and could re-emerge. Tilly enters saying she found Project Daedalus, a file containing a bioneural signature of the Red Angel, and the signature is that of Michael Burnham.
And on that note, we cue the music.
In sickbay, Culber confirms Tilly's discovery. Burnham's 100% match to the bioneural signature in the Project Daedalus data file. Spock is convinced, but Cornwell is skeptical. Pike's still struggling to accept that their Burnham is going to wake up, access time travel tech, and save the galaxy. Spock articulates that course of action fits Burnham's emotional profile, citing her drive to take responsibility for situations beyond her control. Pike believes the reason the Angel is projecting the red bursts may be a warning to Starfleet. Before they can speculate further, Saru calls to inform Pike and Cornwell that a Section 31 vessel is inbound. In the transporter room, Leland and Georgiou beam aboard just as Cornwell and Pike enter. Leland offers his condolences to Pike before explaining that they'd arrived to ensure nothing else from
The future!
Could attack the Federation. Cornwell says they're already working on a strategy, to which Georgiou is skeptical. Leland says they have a problem, as the Angel is the only one with knowledge of
The future!
It's imperative that they capture it. Team Disco reveals to Team Section 31 that Burnham's the Angel. Leland is adamant about preventing further time travel and explains that 20 years earlier, Section 31 learned the Klingons were researching time travel, which would have allowed them to wipe out humanity before they existed. Section 31 developed Daedalus, a very familiar-looking exosuit, the same worn by the Angel. Before it could be tested, it was destroyed by Klingons.
Sucks.
So the project was abandoned, until the signals began to appear.
Great.
Burnham notes several gaps in Leland's story. Leland says he's told her everything she needs to know. Georgiou adds she has the specs and other data to build the trap. Pike tells her to work with Stamets. Spock points out the matter of predicting the Angel's next appearance. Burnham believes there must be a pattern. Leland will work on a way to close the wormhole when she arrives. Saru offers to help. Walking through the corridors, Burnham demands to know from Georgiou what she isn't being told about Daedalus. Georgiou admits that Leland's the only one who has the info Burnham wants. In engineering, Stamets, Tilly, and Georgiou learn the Angel's suit has a protective membrane that uses graviton beams to anchor it to the Angel's home timeline, and when the Angel wishes to return home, the membrane snaps her back like a rubber band. Tilly adds that their phase discriminators would keep the Angel in stasis, an EMP would shut down the time crystal, and a containment field would hold her in place.
Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy.
Stamets explains a problem with the phase discriminators. They need the power equivalent of 12 warp cores. Georgiou reveals that a Daedalus test site was on Esoph 4, which was rich in deuterium that would provide all the power he'd need. In the science lab, Saru and Leland review the wormhole data. Saru remarks that Discovery's graviton beam wasn't powerful enough to close the wormholes. Leland impatiently says that's why he planned to do it on his ship and have Tyler help him. He then asks if Pike felt that he needed a chaperone. Saru replies that he volunteered because with the lives of his friends at risk, he wanted to assess if Leland could be trusted and accuses Section 31 of questionable practices. Leland retorts that if he could tell that by looking at him, he wasn't doing his job right. At that moment, Burnham enters and asks for a private word with Leland. She confronts Leland about his intricate moral gymnastics, saying that since they were coming up with a plan to essentially capture Burnham herself, she needed to know everything.
What do you mean everything?
Everything!
Leland admits Burnham's parents had been assigned to work on Daedalus for Section 31. Burnham asks what Leland had to do with it. He explains that the suit was missing the time crystal, and that an operative on Kronos had discovered a crystal was being sold on the black market near an Orion outpost. Leland's assets stole it, thinking it untraceable. but the Klingons were able to track it to the outpost and killed Burnham's parents. Burnham is shaken to tears of both grief and anger. Leland tries to explain and apologize. Enraged, Burnham punches him in the face twice and warns that this isn't over, before leaving him bloodied on the floor. Near the data core, Burnham confronts Tyler, who just uploaded all the Section 31 data, and demands to know if he knew Leland had been responsible for her parents' death. Tyler denies that he knew and concedes that he doesn't always agree with their tactics, but he believes in their mission. Burnham takes that as a yes and storms away. Culber gets a long overdue therapy session and breakthrough with former therapist Cornwell in her quarters. In the ship's gymnasium, Burnham takes out her anger on a boxing dummy as Spock enters, commenting that Leland likely appreciated her taking out her anger on the high-density urethane foam in lieu of his nasal cartilage. Burnham tells him that he's the last person she wants to speak to at that moment. Spock can see she's angry and admits that he wished he'd been present when Burnham punched Leland, as he would have found the experience satisfying. Burnham admits Spock was right about her need to take the blame on herself for everything, and that she'd brought that guilt into his home, and apologizes. Spock reminds her she was a child, with a child's understanding of events even adults struggled to comprehend. However, if it would help ease Burnham's suffering, he would accept her apology. When asked why he'd come, Spock reveals he discovered the reason behind the variance in the Angel's patterns, why it chose to appear at certain times but not in others, and that Burnham herself was the variance. Burnham and Spock explained to Pike that they could just set the trap directly on Esau 4. Spock explains that the 3 signals Discovery encountered brought them somewhere that lives were saved: the survivors of the USS Hiawatha, the human colony on Terrelysium, and the Kelpians on Kaminar. The Angel appeared at some of those locations, but not all. However, there was a pattern to the Angel's appearances with no signal, like when Spock was a boy, and it warned him Burnham was in danger, and when Burnham saw it after being injured on the asteroid, giving her strength knowing help was coming. In essence, the grandfather paradox. Future Burnham would not be able to exist if the present Burnham was killed. Burnham now believes that she must be the bait for the mousetrap. Esau 4 has no breathable atmosphere. They would set up the trap and then let Burnham go down with no protection and start to suffocate. Both Georgiou and Pike adamantly refuse. Spock insists that the Angel would protect Burnham. Culber would be on hand to resuscitate her. Burnham doesn't like the idea any more than Pike, but both she and Spock believe it's the only way. Pike tells her what she's suggesting is against the oath he took as a captain, but Burnham replies if the choice was between her life and all sentient life in the galaxy, there's no choice at all. The 2 ships enter orbit around Esau 4. Down on the surface, Georgiou asks Burnham if she's ready. Burnham confirms and asks why Georgiou didn't just tell her about her parents. Georgiou replies it was not her story to tell, but she could make sure it was told. Burnham enters the chamber, accompanied by Spock, while Georgiou worriedly looks on. Pike expresses his hope that the Angel lived up to her name. Leland reports they'd close the wormhole the moment the Angel appeared. Burnham seats herself in the chair, and Spock straps her in, enters the control room, and seals the airlock. She gives the word, and Stamets shuts down life support, opens the roof letting in the toxic atmosphere, and Georgiou starts the timer. Burnham screams in agony as her skin begins to burn, and soon begins gasping for air. Aboard Discovery, Cornwell asks Tilly if there are any spikes of tachyon radiation. When Tilly reports no change, then asks if the Angel was even going to come. From the control room, Stamets, Culber, and even Georgiou are ready to rescue Burnham. Spock pulls a phaser on them, explaining that Burnham was the variance, and she was creating a situation where the Angel would have no choice but to intervene. From Discovery, Pike furiously orders Spock to stand down, but Spock refuses, as Burnham lets out a last gasp before flatlining. Pike orders Owosakun to beam Burnham to sickbay, but she can't get a lock due to interference. A red burst appears, heralding the arrival of the Angel. Leland orders his helm to intercept, As the Angel flies to the surface, the micro wormhole lets out a massive electromagnetic burst that briefly disrupts systems on both ships. Tyler's unable to get enough power to activate the graviton beam, as Leland moves to deactivate the security buffer. Inside the facility, the Angel descends, firing a burst of energy into Burnham that brings her back to life.
How convenient.
Giorgio orders Stamets to activate the phase discriminators. In his ready room, Leland tries to override the security buffer using a retinal scanner, to which the computer begins emulating his voice before a needle pierces his eyeball, knocking him to the floor. Though clearly incapacitated, Leland's voice sounds on the comm, telling Tyler he has all the power he needs now. Tyler activates the beam, closing the wormhole. In the facility, Stamets re-engages the atmosphere. As the Angel's feet touch the ground, Stamets activates the EMP. The suit's wings retract, and the occupant seemingly falls through the suit and to the ground in front of Burnham. Stamets reports that they have the Angel and activates the containment field. Slowly regaining lucidity after her near-death experience, Burnham looks up upon the face of the Red Angel and speaks one single shocked word. Mom? So yeah, go ahead and finish your thought before we took the break. Go for it.
We see the love that Emperor Giorgio has for our Michael Burnham manifest itself even more with this plan that has been created to capture the Red Angel. And Michael Burnham says, I have to die, and the Red Angel is not going to let me die. So we have to lure her in. And so Michael Burnham is about to, go and walk off to sit in the chair. I can't remember the exact science behind what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Basically
the grandfather paradox. Like if you die here, you can't exist in the future. Yeah.
So Michael Burnham is basically walking off to go die. And, Giorgio has this moment with her where she physically holds on to her. And she's like, I can't let you go. I can't let you do this.
Yeah.
And so we just see more of that. We see more of that relationship pan out.
Yeah.
And, I think, and as much as we see it on Emperor Giorgio's end, I mean, we also obviously see it on the opposite end as well, because Michael Burnham also sees the person that Emperor Giorgio can be from working under her Giorgio.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet to see, which is why, in season 1, that's why she brings her over to the prime timeline.
Yeah.
To begin with. And there's this interesting, it's another, mother-daughter, at least that's the way that I see it, mother-daughter, mentor-student relationship that forms here as well.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, not to spoil anything that happens later on with this show, but, we have a moment where something is happening to the Emperor that the Emperor has not disclosed and doesn't want to talk about. And we find out later on that this is something that's happening to her. And Michael Burnham has a moment with Emperor Giorgio where she says, why didn't you come to me? You could have told me this. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know you were going through this.
Yeah.
And so I like, as interesting as it would have been to see our Giorgio, prime Giorgio, and see how that relationship formed, I like seeing the conflict and the building of this relationship. It's so much more interesting to watch form, and I appreciate it more because it's kind of coming from a place where they have to fight for it for a little bit. And I guess that's good storytelling, right? You got to have some conflict to have some good storytelling. So
yeah, it's so interesting to hear, if you go back and watch some of the documentary series that or documentary films about Star Trek, of which there's no shortage of those, you hear about Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future where there's no problems, there's no issues, and all that stuff. That makes for some really boring storytelling. And I always kind of wonder, if Gene were still around today, what would he think? And, at this point, I don't know. I really don't know. But I think he'd have to be proud of the longevity, if nothing else.
I think he would. And I think, when when I think about Gene, and I mean his ideas, for one,
Mm,
there is a truth in his ideas.
mm.
There's a truth in Idic. There's a truth in seeing many people of color serving on a starship together. There's a
Of course,
truth,
the diversity. Yeah.
the diversity, the allegories, talking about the issue of the week, talking about the civil rights in the heat of the moment, in the heat of what was going on, talking about the Vietnam War in the heat of what was going on.
Of course.
There is a truth and an honesty to that. And while there is the principle that he had of no conflict and showing that people were more evolved, I mean, that I think that maybe that could also come from a time period of 1960s style storytelling,
Oh, yeah.
of even early 80s storytelling.
Hmm.
By the time we get to like early 90s, mid 90s with Deep Space Nine, we get to more conflict. But again, I think the through line with the themes that Gene Roddenberry pushed in Star Trek to the kind of storytelling that we have now is there's just more honesty. It's just more honest. That's the thing, is like those themes haven't gone away. They're still there. It's just we're more honest and we're more transparent about it. And there's more detail. There's more nuance in how we're approaching these stories. And there's honesty in that nuance. So I hope that if he were to see where Star Trek is now, that he would embrace that. Maybe not, but in my mind, I see honesty in the details, in the storytelling, in the conflict. There's more honesty there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Knowing that he had lived quite a life, which if Gene Roddenberry, for anybody listening, if Gene Roddenberry is just kind of this figure, and that he created Star Trek, do yourself a favor, go read his Wikipedia page. It is fascinating.
Yeah.
the life lived long before Star Trek, and knowing that that's what he brought to create Star Trek, and then seeing how far Star Trek has come, I gotta think that he must be proud. Hell, Eugene Roddenberry, his son, has done a great job of continuing to foster the ideas, the truths, all the good stuff that makes it really, really good. He's continued that on, and he's continued that legacy. Thank goodness, that he's been as involved as he has been.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some really interesting truths that are explored. And right off the bat in this episode, we see everybody kind of display their truth for a moment at the funeral of Arium.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating, I love weddings. Not to sound like Captain Jack Sparrow or anything. I love weddings, drinks all around. But as I get older, I'm starting to love funerals just as much, just because everybody kind of for a second cracks open their own armor and lets some of it out to say goodbye. I know earlier this year we had a death in the family, and it was really hard. It was really hard to be in the room, and knowing that emotions were riding so high, some good, some bad, but it was all out. And that's always a very tricky place to be in. I mentioned, so to pull the curtain back for folks, I'm actually recording this episode out of order with other things that I've already recorded, so some of my memories are a little bit jumbled. I'm a temporal agent, what can I say? But in a few episodes, I talked with Jim Johnson from Modifius Entertainment about the day I graduated Police Academy. And Police Academy was very, very difficult. A lot of mental, physical, emotional stress, to get through.
Yeah.
So we walk on the stage, we get our, certifications, and we are law enforcement officers. Hoorah. And so, chief comes, the badge, the whole thing. It's great. You just graduated. Wonderful. outside of the facility, there's a bunch of parents, guests, friends, everyone that came to watch the graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
And I met a woman from our jurisdiction who was the wife of a fallen officer. And our class had raised money for the family because they had a couple of kids and lost their primary source of income, in addition to having the worst thing imaginable happen to a family.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what I said, but I know I introduced myself, said hello, and the whole thing. And I'll never forget her looking at me saying, "Please be careful."
Oh my God.
And that I will hear that echo in my skull till the day I die.
Oh my God.
I was like, and what do you say? And I looked at her as those words sank into my soul and just said, "Yes, ma'am, I will."
If you don't mind me asking, how old were you?
Let's see. I would have been, this was 2010. So 12 years ago. I was in my early 30s.
You're still a baby.
Yeah.
You're still a baby.
And just,
oh my God.
I mean, it was, to be honest, those words, it wouldn't have mattered how old I was. It just, like I said, into my soul.
It's just
like, oh my God. And I count myself very lucky that I never had to be on duty during a fallen officer incident.
Yeah.
That I never had to attend the funeral of a fallen officer. But when I look at the memorial that is taking place at the beginning of this episode in the hangar bay, over Arium.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe they can, save some of her memories and have it. And I was just like, based on what happened, no,
nothing.
they can't.
That's it.
It's it. It's gone.
That's it.
And it was really, really sobering. It was really sobering. I didn't know if you had any thoughts about the funeral, the things people say. Saru sings this beautiful song of remembrance. Any thoughts about the funeral?
I think, with the exception of DS9 and maybe a little bit of Voyager, we don't really get to have those moments where we have some recognition for the officers that have been lost. I mean, we do it here and there. I think we did it with DS9. I think the episode was called "The Sound of Her Voice." I mean, granted, we didn't lose that captain in combat. They found out she'd passed a long time ago, but there was a wake. There was a wake for her.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it was just watching the crew kind of be affected by the loss, because I don't know. I'm not sure how often we really get to see it. I could be wrong. Maybe there are other times, but for some reason, it just hit me here. Just watching that.
Yeah. I remember exactly where I was when I heard Leonard Nimoy passed away.
Oh.
And it is the first celebrity death that brought me to tears. I remember, of course, as soon as the news hit, there were articles everywhere.
Yeah.
And in each article was the video clip of his funeral in Wrath of Khan.
Oh God.
Yeah. And as if it wasn't sad enough.
Yeah, that's the one you guys are gonna pick.
Man.
No.
And then to hear the bagpipes, Amazing Grace, as the casket rolls down to the tube,
yeah.
Oh my God. I remember I was at work. This was while I was living in Florida, and I was working on my comic book, and my artist was at the next table, and then she just hears me and my shoulders start doing the thing. She goes, "You okay?" I was like, "Leonard Nimoy just passed." She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so," and she was much younger, so it didn't hit her the same way.
I mean, yeah.
But it was I was like, this is, and to be honest, I was a fan, but I wouldn't consider, I was certainly not the Trekker then that I am today.
Yeah.
But the fact it was just kind of this this perfect storm of this very wise older, gentleman who had, lived a life and was a staple of American pop culture is now gone. And again, Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, like it'll get like, I hate bagpipes, but if you start playing Amazing Grace, the waterworks, man, it happens. I don't know. But yeah, that was rough. But yeah, we don't really see a lot of officer funerals in Star Trek. There's been very few.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know people die left and right. The red shirts, we know
the
shirts pass away.
red shirts. Yeah. I mean, again, it's like maybe one episode to me, a series that we get to see that happen.
Yeah. Usually,
and even go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, I think there's usually one episode where like somebody dies.
One episode.
Tasha Yar.
Right. We lost Tasha.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and even then, I think with the exception of losing Tasha, we don't really see those episodes until like later on, like seasons down the road. Then we'll have like the episode, because I think in Next Generation, I don't really think that we really have something like that again, and it's only for a quick moment. It's with that officer, that cadet that goes on that mission. And it's I guess it's kind of a follow-up story from her episode. Was it called First Duty? That may have been what it was called.
Sounds
with
right.
Wesley Crusher at the trial at the academy, and she was part of that whole thing. And she gets brought onto the Enterprise, and so you find out that at the end of the episode that she died. And there's just a minute where Picard is talking to the crew of the Enterprise over comms, and he's just saying, "This is what she did. We, thank her for this and that." But I think that was like season 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's pretty late.
It was late down the road. DS9, same thing. Like, we have the wake. I think that episode was called "The Sound of Her Voice," and that wake, that was like season 6.
Yeah.
Voyager's got an episode. Oh, I can't remember what that episode was, but that was also, what was it? What was that episode? There's like an officer that was on the ship that they didn't realize. No, she was an officer, and then it turns out that
I've watched Voyager.
I can't remember now, but it's like she was an officer. She ends up making it back to Voyager, and then she ends up leaving again because she's now this other alien.
Oh, Cass.
No, not Cass. This was it was a guest star role. She was on for one episode, but you find out that she was an officer on Voyager for a while.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, whatever evolution she had, it's starting to take place, and then she goes off to be with this new family, this alien species that she's now been evolved into.
Oh yeah.
But
okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, bringing it all back, like, I mean, because even Enterprise had the death of what we think is the death of Trip,
right?
But it's actually the death of Sim.
Yeah.
And then we watched that episode play out, which makes it sadder.
Oh God. Oh my God. That's even harder to watch.
Wonderful episode directed by LeVar Burton. Like, it's like, that episode slaps. It's really, really good. It's a really good, very, very sad, but yeah, really good. But yeah, there's not a lot of that. I mean, understanding that like Star Trek is such a beacon of hope in pop culture.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to drag anybody. Nobody wants to bring anybody down.
No one wants to do that. Yeah. And it's like, it really, with the legacy Trek, the 90s Trek, it was really like, you lose the officer in the episode, next week, new story.
Yep.
Where it's like, but here we lost our shipmate, next episode. Now we're going to talk about it and deal with it.
Oh yeah.
Wait, Enterprise does have another one, but I could go on about these different shows forever and how they deal with stuff, but
for sure.
Yeah.
There was okay, so we're done talking about funerals.
Yeah.
Getting back into something else. Let's go back to, this very tense moment where Burnham puts herself on the pyre and is like, this has to be done. If I have to do this, otherwise all sentient life. That's the argument stopper for everything in season 2 of Discovery of just like, it's either I either have to play chess with you right now, or all sentient life in the universe dies. That's what it comes down to. But like, so she puts herself, it is known that the Red Angel has biosignature of Michael Burnham. Okay.
Right.
All right. So we gotta, she's got to sacrifice herself to bring the Red Angel about so that they can capture it, interrogate her, find out what's going on. Nobody really mentions the fact that she guessed wrong. It's not Michael. It's her mom. Like,
it's her mom.
This could have gone so horribly. But yeah, she comes face to face with her mom after a decade or more of thinking, of believing that my mother was killed in this horrible thing in my backstory. And here she is. Like, how was this reveal for you that Dr. Gabriel Burnham is actually the Red Angel and not Michael?
Well, I remember I'm thinking about my reaction the first time that I saw the episode, and it just, because it's like it just ends on mom.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Cut to black.
Cut to black. That's it.
I don't know. I mean, all I can think of is like, wait, what?
Record scratch.
I mean, also just, to think about the shock of thinking that your parent has been dead all this time. Not only that, you lost your parent in one way, and then to find out that no, you actually lost them in this way. I trying to imagine like the mental gymnastics that your mind must be doing.
Oh yeah.
With that knowledge.
And to be confronted with the person who's responsible, and to deal with a former lover who is on their side. Whoa, it's amazing she didn't turn into a puddle of just like, okay, that's it, I'm out, I'm done.
I remember, because I remember thinking about this now, and I'm thinking about it again like years later after watching the episode for the first time. I'm now seeing it the second time. Michael Burnham needs therapy. There is just so over the first 2 seasons, especially, Michael Burnham needs therapy.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much that happens. I'm like, are you okay? Are you?
Yeah. And yet, like, let's be honest, everyone that we've interacted with in the crew of the Discovery needs therapy. At the top of the list is Michael.
Yeah.
How many of them go to Admiral Cornwell, who is a therapist, and goes, hey, you got a minute to talk? One person
goes to it.
One person who's just like, hey, I'm going through some stuff. Can we talk about it?
Which is like, it's also very interesting to see an admiral have this background of being a I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twist, and just watching her just say, you know what, sure, come on, sit down, let's talk about it. And she turns it on.
Yeah.
And that was a nice, I mean, I appreciate the introduction of a ship's counselor in TNG.
Yeah, of course.
And having that follow up, with Discovery was good to see. Seeing Admiral Cornwell take on that role again.
Yeah,
it's just,
I've not held back my love for Admiral Cornwell and Jane Brock, who absolutely knocks it out of the park. I would have loved to see a mini series of her as a lower ranking officer in Starfleet, because watching her deal with Tyler when he's having his PTSD moment in the Klingon jail, or the Klingon, prison cell, like, she knows how to work, but she knows how to work under fire. She knows how to work behind the scenes. Like, there's clearly some stuff going on in her background that we just didn't get a chance to see.
We don't have, that would be a very interesting story to see told.
IDW, make this happen. Please
Oh,
do a
oh,
comic
that'd be
series.
delicious.
Oh, that would be, oh, how awesome would that be? A story of just a give me a 3 or 4 issue miniseries to give me some closure about Admiral Cornwell. Please, please.
Yeah.
Well, we've not held back our love. Do you have anything else before we move on?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. So we have not held back our love for the characters, the actors of this episode and of the franchise. Frankly, we've been talking for a while. But as we do, when you talk about these big art pieces where there's a lot of moving parts, you got a lot of people involved, you always have to ask the question, as we do every week, lovingly, who do we blame? This episode was written by Chris Silvestri, whose first credit, he was a writer's assistant on all 39 episodes of Hannibal. That was from 2013 to 2015. He did 4 episodes as a consulting producer on the educational series Brainchild. That was in 2018. 2017, however, he got another writer's assistant job, this time on a little show called Star Trek Discovery. He did that from the Vulcan Hello all the way to this episode, which is his first writing in the franchise, but not his last. We've also got Anthony Marinville, whose first credits were as a writer, director, and producer of the short Mimesis, which I looked for but couldn't find. So if anybody out there finds it, send it to me, send me a link, something. I'd love to see it. And he'd do a few more shorts up to 2022, but he was also a consulting producer for 4 episodes of Brainchild, the very same episodes as Chris Silvestri, maybe? I don't know. That's probably where they met. He wrote 1 episode of Monk in 2008, but judging by the dates, it looks like his buddy Chris may have gotten him the gig writing for Star Trek Discovery, because this is his first writing in the franchise, but not his last. And this episode was directed by Hanley M. Culpepper, whose last episode directing was season 1, episode 12, Vaulting Ambition, which we discussed with my former nemesis, Counselor Amy Nelson, back on episode 98. Matt and I both know Amy. She's an absolute sweetheart. We love her to death. But I
love you, Amy. Hi, Amy. I love you.
But I still like to treat her as my nemesis. It's just fun. I have no reason to be antagonistic towards Amy, but it is fun. I think it's because she takes it so well. She takes it like a real champ.
Amy used to be a teacher, so she is used to
dealing with psychos.
Used to the punishment she dealt with kids like us. So.
In terms of guest stars, we've got a bunch of familiar faces, of course. Returning, we've got Michelle Yeoh as Georgiou, Jane Brooke as Cornwell, Ethan Peck as Spock, Alan Van Sprang as Leland, and Rachel Ann Sherrill as Non. But the person I want to focus on today is Sarah Middich as Lieutenant Nilsson. Now, she gets just a brief second of screen time here in this episode, but she is replacing Ariam on the bridge. And it's kind of a tense moment when she comes on and they're like, all right, welcome. I feel like the last half of that sentence was like, all right, welcome to the show. Like, here we go. But yes, she plays Lieutenant Nilsson, originally from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. At age 9, Sarah began at the National Ballet School of Canada. From 2010 to 2014, she was in a lot of shorts and a few smaller films, notably Joyride 3, Roadkill from 2014. She plays Candy, which means she dies a horrible death. She was in 1 episode of Heroes Reborn. That was in 2015. 10 episodes of Murdoch Mysteries. 4 episodes of The Expanse from 2015 to 2016. She was also in the film Ashes in 2017, which is directed by Dan Slater, written by Slater and Jake Raymond, starring Raymond and Sarah Middich. And here's the little summary. After discovering his parents' final wishes are to have their ashes scattered where they first met, Liam and his closest friends set out to explore the place for themselves as they navigate old memories while creating new ones. But this film actually got 19 nominations, 7 wins, including Best Supporting Actress from the Actor Awards in LA. Later that same year, that was 2017, Sarah Middich began working on Discovery as Ariam. So from episode 3 through episode 15 of season 1, she actually played Ariam. But as we mentioned last week, the role was taken over by Hannah Cheeseman, who got 86th last week. So this is neither her first nor her last appearance in the franchise. So we've got a couple of interesting things here. Now, I know we said we were done talking about the funerals, but Tilly actually gave an interesting paraphrase of a quote from Albert Einstein. And the quote actually goes, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle." It's an interesting quote. Do you have any thoughts about this in terms of things happening in the world that lead you to another place, to another setting, to another adventure, to more people? Any thoughts about this quote from Einstein?
Oh man, as though nothing is a miracle and the other as though everything is a miracle. For me, I think when I hear as though nothing is a miracle, I think that as though nothing happens by accident, and really take a minute to think about why you are in this moment in time. What could you be learning from this moment in time, even if it's a really shitty moment in time?
Yeah.
Maybe you are in this place because there's something for you to learn, and maybe you need to listen. And by listen, I mean just listen to, be aware of everything around you. Really listen to your environment, and maybe there's something that you're being told in this moment. And when I think of the other as though everything is a miracle, when I think about that, I think of, and I think maybe Leonard Nimoy said it. I don't know. It could be wrong. It may have been him that said, "Stay curious," or keep being curious about people.
Yeah.
I think that was him. I could be wrong, but I do remember hearing that somewhere. Stay curious about people. Stay curious about life.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what that last thing is. Stay curious. I think that if we stayed curious about people, if we stayed curious about life, I think that we would be more patient people. I think we'd be more patient with each other as a species.
Yeah.
I think there would be less division, especially in the United States right now.
Hey.
If we stayed curious, and if we maybe approached it that way instead of approaching it as I'm right, you're wrong. What if we just approach things from a curious place of just gathering information? Maybe
sounds like something a Starfleet scientist would do.
It does, right?
Yeah.
But maybe that's what I think of is maintain your curiosity.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something there.
Do you make a point to stay curious about things in your life?
I really do, and I'll be very honest. Some days I struggle.
Yeah.
Some days I don't want to be curious. Some days I don't. But I think the reality is that we're all going through something at the end of the day. And this is something that I was taught in acting class, is, when you're playing a character and when you're doing a scene and the scene has a moment where the character loses control and yells. That person isn't yelling because the text just says yell here.
Right.
You've got to think about what happened in that person's day. What has that person been going through for the last few months, for the last few years?
Oh, yeah.
What has that person been going through with this person that they're in the scene with? Why is this the person that they're deciding to go off on today? Have they been holding on to all the stuff that they're saying now for years? Like, there's all of these circumstances that lead up to that moment. And while, in some cases, and, applying this to life, in some cases, those things aren't just like those horrible acts aren't justified.
Right.
Or those moments of someone snapping, while they may not be justified, if the person is not purposefully that way and they have that kind of crappy moment, maybe take a minute to think about, well, what else? What was the lead in? What were you walking in with today? What happened before?
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, you have some people that just make an active choice, as I said earlier, to just be mean.
And
at that point, I don't want to be curious about you because you've made a decision to actively be a negative human being and try to work that out on me. And I cannot be that outlet for you.
Right.
I have to protect myself.
Right.
But if someone is trying, or if you can see that someone is just losing control, depending on the scenario and the circumstance, I guess that's what I say. Stay curious. What has that person been going through?
Yeah.
To get there.
Yeah. I think for me, when I hear that quote, it makes me think of something somebody said to me years ago, and it always kind of, stuck in the, wrinkles in my brain. Everything you go through in life makes you into the very specific person you are for that next moment. And, interpret that as you will, but it's just kind of like, that's, hindsight. That's where hindsight comes in, because you look back 5, 10, 20 years later and go, oh man, I would have done that differently. Yeah, you would have done that differently today.
Yeah,
back
right,
then,
right.
you were a different person.
Right.
And then the other part, everything's a miracle. It makes me, it might sound cheesy, it might sound sappy, but it's absolutely true. I think about my wife. I'm like, what are the odds? What are the odds the two people find each other, and not even just me and my wife, but like anybody. What are the odds of two people in this world finding each other and staying together? I mean, look at the statistics of, divorce or anything like that.
Right.
We're staring, the wife and I are staring down the barrel of 15-year wedding anniversary this year. Yeah. And
I'm giving a clap. Yeah.
Thank you. It's not been easy. And I think she would agree.
Yeah.
It is work. But God, when you connect with somebody, I mean, she was having a rough night last night, and and I just crawled up in bed next to her and just, you're my best friend. Anything that we go through, think about anything you go through. Isn't it better when you've got somebody next to you? Good or bad. It's, the idea of like misery loves company. But at the same time, something good's, happen. You want somebody there to experience it with you. What are the odds? What are the odds? Anyways, so that's the one thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk with you about, and this is actually going to take us back into our thoughts about the episode.
Yeah.
This episode is the first Star Trek production to use specific terms for different sexual orientations, specifically gay and pansexual. Now, the scene in which this happens is so wonderfully awkward.
Oh my God. It's so awkward.
Like, the fate of the universe is hanging in the balance, and Georgiou's trying to break off a piece. Like,
he's like, she's trying to get it in. She's trying to get it in.
Let's talk. Well, first of all, let's talk about the scene in the episode, and then we'll talk about the ramifications of finally using these terms in Star Trek. So the scene, how did you feel about the scene? You've got Georgiou, Stamets, then you've got Culber and Tilly, who, I mean, we're all human beings here. It's, it would be weird to think, they're not interested in things of a sexual nature. Like, no, that's ridiculous. Sex, it's biology. What are your thoughts about the scene?
It was just, I don't think that I was expecting it. I think, what it was is because I think because overall Discovery has found ways to put in humor tidbits here and there. And because I would have to go back and do a whole rewatch of season 2 up until that point. But from watching the episode I watched a couple of days ago, from just watching this one episode again and thinking about what I remember from the beginning of season 2 up until that point, everything has been so high stakes,
very,
and so tense.
Yeah.
In the last episode, someone just died. And I'll be honest, I have purposefully not. I think I have only seen that episode one time because it broke me so much. Jonathan Frakes, you are a sick, talented man. You are a sick, talented man, and that broke my heart. Well done.
Yeah, he did a great job with it.
I have not gone back and watched the episode because it broke me so much, and it was so hard to watch. but everything has been so serious up until this point. So you've got the scene where like it just breaks the tension. And so there, you've got Stamets and Culber. And I think Tilly was there as well, but they're talking about the plan to capture the Red Angel, and they're talking about the science of it and what they're going to do. And this is what we're looking at. And I think that this is going to work with this and blah, blah, blah. And Emperor Giorgio is just in here trying to just get it in.
Yep.
I think get it in with everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if she had it her way, it would have been Stamets, it would have been Culber, and it would have been Tilly. And as Worf said, it would have been a foursome. It was a threesome. But in regards to her going after Stamets, I think I was thinking the same thing as Culber in that moment. I was like, he's gay.
Yeah, he's gay, right?
I don't think that he would be. I mean, he could be, but I think that this scene just broke the tension.
Yeah.
I appreciate, I think just in terms of sexual identity and the queer community, I think for me, again, this was just also a scene where it wasn't, something that was harped on. It was just, hey, that this is a thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah. And I think it hits harder because it is juxtaposed with, okay, we're going to put up these sensors, we're going to use EMP, we're going to, this very technical expositional type scene. Oh, by the way, Giorgio's wanting to break it off. Like,
yeah, and it just cuts the tension. It cuts the tension.
They're able to do, I don't know if this is the writing, the directing, the acting, all of the above.
Yeah.
But they're able to do both. They're able to have their cake and eat it too, as it were, with this scene, because they make it very clear what the plan is. Yeah. And then we address this thing of the sexual tension and the sexual preferences, the mirror universe versus the prime universe, yada, yada, yada. And it's one doesn't detract from the other, which is also some pretty fancy footwork in terms of writing, directing, producing, acting, like all of that stuff. It really fits well. So while it is a funny scene, I gotta applaud them for like really pulling it off very well. Speaking of pulling it off very well, how good does Wilson Cruz look in that black suit?
I mean,
wow. Again, I am comfortable enough to look at a dude wearing a nice suit and be like, dude, you are wearing that suit. Woo.
A dish. And I'll, me personally, I have a thing for men wearing suits. I think it's just, it is, for me, it's sexy. I can't explain. I think it's a very sexy thing.
Yeah.
Also, because I can't stop thinking about it, is the button on the scene with Tilly.
What just happened? What? Where it's like the words, she doesn't say the words so much as they just kind of fall out of her head. Just,
oh God,
what just happened?
So beautiful and just so beautifully done. So well delivered.
Mary Wiseman,
delivered.
We absolutely adore you. If you hear this, please come on. We'd love to just pick your brain about everything.
And it's like, now that I think about it, because we've got Emperor Giorgio, who is pansexual, and I'm thinking about the Intendant from Deep Space Nine from the Mirror Universe, and like I can only imagine the mayhem that the two of them would get into. I just want to see a conversation with the two of those. Two of them, like what kind of mayhem
it's
would they get into?
I was lucky enough to interview Nana Visitor earlier this year, and you hear people talk about actors or performers really that have that it factor.
Yes.
And with her sitting 18 inches in front of my face, it was like, oh, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got that it factor. It's, it's palpable.
Yes.
And I had the pleasure of watching her do some stage readings and things like that, and it was absolutely wonderful because she disappears into roles like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Like if anybody out there, I mean, this kind of goes back to what you were saying about the Emmys and season 3 of Picard getting snubbed. Like if there's any doubt that these actors, and we'll just speak about the actors here for a moment,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
if there's any doubt that any of these folks can't hold water up against any other actor, all right, go ahead and get any other actor to be on Star Trek. Let's see how they do. There's a
Yeah.
reason that they pick people with classic theater training,
Oh
specifically
my God.
Shakespearean theater training, because
Yes.
take a look at a Star Trek script sometime. I've got a book. I've got a book of Star Trek scripts. Flip to a page and see how easy it is to read. Like,
I'm telling you, try saying that technobabble and try making it make sense.
yeah,
Kate Mulgrew says it all the time. She said it might as well be Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
And like, kudos to Kate Mulgrew for, like, with all the circumstances that she had at that time, getting, what, probably 2 pages of technobabble the night before.
Yeah.
To like spin that out.
That Center Seat documentary series, which again, I've mentioned it a couple times already, but it is a fantastic series. And yeah, it's a few years old at this point, but wow, what an eye opener. In that interview, she's just like, I essentially had the weekend to prepare to be Janeway. I'm like, holy crap.
And thinking about this just for a minute about just going back a little bit with the quote, there are only 2 ways to live your life, and the one as though nothing is a miracle. When I think about the way that Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, her story of getting the part when it originally went to someone else.
Yeah.
Genevieve Bujold, I believe.
Yep.
And then, Genevieve Bujold stepped away and Kate kind of came in and just did what she had to do.
Yep. And here we are 30 years later.
and there's no one else that
nobody else
can play that part. And to me, it's stuff like that. Stuff like that doesn't happen by accident, especially when they were 2 weeks into filming already.
Yeah.
2 weeks into filming, that's a lot of time and money to do reshoot. Stuff like that. When that happens, that's not an accident. That part was for you.
Oh yeah.
It
makes me think of like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Like, go ahead and try to picture somebody else's Wolverine. Like, Patrick Stewart, bringing it back to Star Trek, Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Don't get me wrong, like James McAvoy did a great job, but like, he's not Patrick Stewart.
And even Patrick Stewart getting cast as Picard, and the stuff that he went through to get, like, the stories that he had of getting cast, like, certain things just don't happen by accident. Certain things are here. I'm going to get really philosophical and deep for a minute.
This is a safe place. Go for it.
Okay. So, I love Erykah Badu.
Okay.
I adore her. And she was talking about different artists one day, and she talked about certain people having certain gifts, and certain people, sometimes it doesn't matter what they do. I think, like you were saying, they just have that it factor. If they were a shoemaker, the shoes would be the magnetic quality. If they were, I don't know, a cook, the food would have had that magnetic quality. Some people are just designed to do specific things, no matter what your circumstance is. You're going to make it to that destination because it's for you, it's yours. So, whatever happens, if it's meant for you, it's going to happen. And some people are just designed to do certain things. But that's, again, going back to as though nothing is a miracle. That's my thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt, we come to the question that we ask every week. Is this essential viewing? This episode, Red Angel. If somebody is sitting down for the first time and working their way through Star Trek and they come to this episode, is this one that they can skip, or is this a must-see epised?
I think it's a must-see. I mean, you for one thing, I mean, this is a serialized is the right word, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we have the serialized aspect of it. But as well, we've got character building that goes on here.
Yeah.
We've got the dynamic that we get to see more of between Spock and Michael Burnham. We've got, Hugh's Dr. Culber's therapy session with Admiral Cornwell, where he's
Mhm.
talking about I guess just where he's at in his life right now,
Yeah.
and coming back from death, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to register that and trying to figure out if he can still be this person for his partner.
Mm-hmm.
We've got more of the buildup of, the relationship between Emperor Georgiou and Michael Burnham. We've got the reveal at the end. We've got the reveal of Michael Burnham's mother actually working with Leland, and her believing something for at least, I don't know how old Michael Burnham is at this point, but for at least 10 plus years of her life, as far as she knows, this is how she lost her mother. This is
Yeah.
something she's been carrying with her, and now this new piece of it. I say all that to say, yeah, it's essential viewing. There's so much that happens here.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. And I've not held back in saying that, when it's serialized, it's kind of hard to skip any episodes. But
Yeah.
our discussion last week with executive producer Kat Davis, we came to the conclusion that last week's episode could have been condensed, and a lot of the stuff that happens in that episode kind of gets recapped in this one. So last week is an episode you could potentially skip. But here, with the plot elements regarding Michael's mother, parents, and their
Yeah.
involvement in Section 31, all of the emotional ups and downs, mostly twists and turns that Michael goes through, and the different things that are revealed in this episode. Culber's, you mentioned it, Culber's one therapy session, and let's be honest, fastest route to a breakthrough in the history of therapy ever. More stuff with Captain Pike. All of this stuff is really, it's ramping up. It is really ramping up. And I think if you do skip last week's episode, Project Daedalus, then you absolutely have to watch this episode if you're going to continue in Discovery.
Yeah.
Trekkers are going to be like, hey, look, it's Trek. I'm in for everything.
Right.
But if
You
you're
watch
looking
the ups, yeah.
if you're looking to kind of streamline the experience a little bit and cut things here and there, I don't think this is one you can skip for sure. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on and carving out the time to sit and nerd out with me once again about Star Trek. I'd sit and talk with you about anything, man, but when we get together and talk Star Trek, the conversation can go and go and go. Do you have any parting thoughts before we start to wrap it up? Thoughts about the episode, thoughts about this season of Discovery as a whole, the franchise as a whole, or any other parting thoughts that you'd like to impart before we wrap it up?
I think I can't wait to, with the strike happening right now, and I think the last thing that we'll get is probably Lower Decks before we have no more new Trek.
I think Lower Decks. I know Prodigy
that's
season
right.
2 is done,
and then there's
Discovery
one more season of
5.
Discovery.
Yeah.
When those things are done, there's going to be a little bit of a gap, and I think I can't wait to go back and I think just do a rewatch of Discovery.
Yeah.
I've been most curious to see because now it's been about 5 years, and I wonder what I would look at now and what I would see now. I think that, I don't know, I think about the hard work that was put in by production, by everybody. I think about, I don't know. I'm thinking about it as a piece of art. And I think that's probably just because I'm thinking about the strike.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm looking at it as just a piece of art, and the work that goes into making these things. And everyone really goes for it, and they go all out. And I can't take it for granted. I can't. I love the journey that we get to see this crew go on from here to season 4, the latest season, where I feel like, and it always happens to me with every Trek series, where it's like around season 3 or 4, it's like, oh, there's the crew, there they are, there it is.
Yep.
And it always takes a little bit of time, and to me that's okay. That's okay. Watching the journey is the best part.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and it's not every Star Trek series has been Strange New Worlds that just comes out of the gate swinging, you know.
Right. It's like that's
you take the journey.
You take the journey, and you get to see these people grow. You get to see the actors grow into the roles.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And I think season 2 is definitely one of my favorite seasons. Season 2 is one of my favorite seasons of Discovery, just overall, is I think a story and character building and world building. It gave us this, Strange New Worlds. We get more about Michael Burnham. We get to see some of that stuff play out in season 3. Yeah, I appreciate it more now, and I can't wait to go back and do a full rewatch and to really catch some stuff that I know that I've missed.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you. So thank you again for coming on to talk with me about this episode. Well, folks, next week, we will be joined by New York's cosplay comedian, Danny Rydell, to discuss Discovery, Season 2, Episode 11, Perpetual Infinity, which is available wherever you watch Star Trek. We support the strike. Matt, where can people find 1701, A Blurred Story, and you online?
You can find me for 1701, A Blurred Story. You can find me on Instagram at 1701 BLERD. I also do, because you mentioned Amy.
That's right.
So I also I do a podcast with BQN called Cinema Z.
Nice.
Where we discuss and we review movies. Where I don't think we don't really do current stuff as much. We review like a lot of indie movies that have come up in the last 20-30 years. We do older movies too.
Nice.
We do cult classics. We did the Batman Returns for an episode. So yeah, check out Cinema Z.
Why have I not been invited to be on this show?
I was just about to ask you. I mean, we just started doing it a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, I do it with Mark White and Laz Marquez, and I also do it with Shalimar. Those are the 4 hosts that we do it with. Yeah, and I do it under the BQN network with Amy Nelson. And that's been a lot of fun too. You can find us on, I think, at BQN Podcasts on Instagram, and we're on other socials too. We're on Blue Sky, and we're also on, I guess it's called X now. Because we were on Twitter before it turned into X. We're on that as well. But yeah, so Cinema Z, look for that under BQN Podcasts, and for 1701, my web series, at 1701 BLERD on Instagram. On my personal Instagram at MLJENN.
And I am at Mr. Todd A. Davis on all of the socials. From all of us at the Computer Resume podcast, thank you so much for listening. And I'll see you in 10 Forward.
Us on Patreon and like, rate, review, and share on all your favorite platforms. Feel free to send us your subspace transmissions to computerresumepodcast@gmail.com or at Computer Resume on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Computer Resume podcast was created and produced by Mr. Todd A. Davis. Our logo was designed by Will Martin and Justin Bishop. The opening theme was produced by Justin Bishop, and our outro music was provided with permission by Dronode. Additional music was provided by Mr. Todd A. Davis and Gary Horn, and the voice of Computer Resume podcast and executive producer, me, Kat Davis. Hashtag LLAP. We'll see you next time.
Go with
through a Star Trek. We're doing Star Trek stuff in space. We probably got some phasers and shuttle pods, and we're gonna find a brand new race.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?